Now coming to the pleura and pleural cavity. Pleura is a serous membrane lining by a single layer of squamous cells which is also called as mesothelium. There are two pleural sacs on either side of the mediastinum. Mediastinum is a place where the heart is located is called mediastinum. The two layers of the pleura are mainly the outer parietal layer and inner visceral layer. You just remember outer parietal layer and inner visceral layer. The potential space, the space between these two layers is called as pleural space and also called as pleural cavity. That means there is a space between these two layers, outer parietal and inner visceral layer. In between these two layers there is space for which the fluid will be flowing, and the fluid is called as pleural fluid. The fluid which is present in this pleural cavity is called as pleural fluid. We can see in the diagram the lungs. We can see this upper lobe, middle lobe and lower lobe in the left side, and in right side we can see upper lobe, oblique fissure and lower lobe. We can see in the diagram the trachea and apex of the heart, apex of the lungs also we can see. Coming to the next, the visceral layer, which is the inner layer, are also called as pulmonary pleura, covers the surfaces and fissures of the lung except at the hilum region. The parietal pleura surrounding the root of the lungs extends towards downwards as a fold called as pulmonary ligament. We can see this in the diagram, and this fold contains a thin layer of areolar connective tissue. Because of this only, the areolar connective tissue has the capacity of floating and storing some of the air. So it is called as areolar tissue, and it provides a space for the pulmonary vein to expand during increased venous return. During the venous return, this place will be given for the pulmonary vein to expand during the venous return. Coming to the blood supply, we see the blood supply for a visceral pleura, that is the inner layer. For inner layer, blood is supplied by bronchial vessels, and for the parietal pleura, it receives the blood from intercostal. You just remember intercostal. These are the blood vessels present in between the ribs, so they are called as intercostal, internal thoracic and musculophrenic arteries. Musculophrenic means muscle, and phrenic is also called as diaphragm. These arteries are engaged in supplying blood, and any corresponding veins through the all these corresponding veins drain the pleura. And come to the third point, visceral pleura is drained by bronchopulmonary lymph nodes. The parietal pleura is drained into the intercostal, internal mammary, internal mediastinal and diaphragmatic nodes, NODES. Okay. Next, the visceral pleura is supplied by vagus nerve, and parietal pleura is supplied by intercostal nerve. You can see the three nerves mainly. Parietal pleura is supplied by intercostal nerves, and the visceral pleura is supplied by vagus nerve. This is the main nerve. Now coming to the lungs diagram, you have seen already. Next we can see the pleural cavity, how it is appearing. See, the first layer is the visceral layer, and parietal layer is upon this. And coming to lungs, rib cage, heart, as I told, heart is located in the mediastinum, and we can see the diaphragm in the diagram. See, I am repeating once again, pleural cavity with serous fluid. Next is the parietal layer, comes the visceral layer, and lungs are present in the inside, and you can see the rib cage right side, and heart is present in the mediastinum, and in we can see diaphragm also in this diagram. Next, coming to the applied anatomy, it is very important part of this, because the terminology which you are seeing here is very important for you. See, the inflammation of pleura is called as pleuritis. Again I am repeating, The inflammation of pleura is called pleuritis. Next, pleural effusion means the collection of fluid in the pleural cavity. The collection of fluid in the pleural cavity is called as pleural effusion. Next, coming to third one, presence of air in the pleural cavity. Presence of air in the pleural cavity. Presence of air in the pleural cavity is called as pneumothorax. Sorry, presence of air in the pleural cavity is called pneumothorax. Next, presence of blood in the thoracic cavity is called as hemothorax. अगर blood है तो hemothorax, air है तो pneumothorax. Next, presence of pus, that is not bus, presence of pus in the pleural cavity is called emphyema. And aspiration of any fluid from the thoracic cavity. What is called aspiration? Removing of the fluid from a thoracic cavity is called as paracentesis, and paracentesis is done in the normally it is done in the sixth intercostal space in the mid-axillary line. Okay, is it clear? Now coming to the next slide, intrapleural space. What is the pleural cavity? The cavity which is present in between the two layers, upper parietal, inner visceral layer, and the fluid is called as pleural fluid, and it will be possessing some pressure which is called as intrapleural pressure, and it is minus 2 mm of Hg during expiration and minus 6 mm of Hg during inspiration. This prevents collapse of the lung parenchyma and also aids in the venous return. This pleural pressure is useful to maintain the lung parenchyma as well as helping in the venous return of the body. Sorry. Next, coming to the intra-alveolar pressure. This pressure is present within the alveoli of the lungs and develop inside the alveolus is equal to the atmospheric pressure at the starting of the breathing, that is 0 mm of Hg. During mild inspiration, it becomes minus 1 mm of Hg, which helps to rush air inside the lungs from the atmosphere. This increases pressure inside the alveoli, and at the end of inspiration, it becomes again 0 mm of Hg. So, the pressure, the alveolar pressure, intrapleural pressure, and intra-alveolar pressure are necessary for the process of inspiration and expiration. Coming to the last point, transpulmonary pressure. It is a difference between the intra-alveolar and intrapleural pressure. It represents the pressure difference felt across the lungs, which determines the expansion and elastic recoiling of the lungs. Coming to the physiology in this, the respiration is the process of exchange of gases in the lung where there is a uptake of oxygen in exchange for carbon dioxide. This is called as external respiration. And coming to internal respiration, this means the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide at tissue level is called internal respiration. And coming to the respiration movements, what are the respiratory movements? During inspiration and expiration accompanied by the expansion of lungs for uptake of air. Expiration, expiration is the expansion of air from lungs due to retraction of lungs. These movements are accompanied by corresponding movements of the rib cage. And now we see the composition of air. The inspired air, the inhaled air, the air which is inhaled consists of maximum of nitrogen. See, 78% of nitrogen, 21% of oxygen, and 1% of inert gases, and 0.03 percentage of carbon dioxide. Lowest is carbon dioxide, highest is nitrogen, and 21% is oxygen, 1% inert gases. The expired air consists of 16% of oxygen and 4% of carbon dioxide. You can just remember the inspired air consists of 78% of oxygen, and expired air consists of 16% of oxygen, 4% of carbon dioxide. By this, I am concluding this pleural cavity, pleural fluid, and applied anatomy and physiology of respiration. In next class, we are going to see pulmonary function test as well as the lung volumes, tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume, etc. Thank you for watching.